Greetings, my fellow humanoid dwellers. I create videos on technology and other random things. If you like this video, you might like others. If you don't like this video, you still might like others. Consider subscribing to my channel or checking out my Patreon page. If you already subscribe, hit that bell. In this video, we're going to go over some basics of web design. We're going to do the editing on the Raspberry Pi. So you're going to have to go ahead and log in using PuTTY or whatever SSH program that you prefer. I have mine still set up on the IP address of 192.168.1.230. I have the website over here, and I have my PuTTY screen over here. When you first log into the Raspberry Pi, you're sitting into the home directory of the user Pi. The first thing you have to do is change directory back twice. So you get back into the home. If I do a directory here, I'll see the user Pi. I could go back into Pi, but I'm not going to. I go back again. The two dots means go backward. There is a quicker way to do it, and we'll do that going forward, but for right now I just want to show you this way. Now what you're looking for is the directory VAR. So you change directory to VAR. If we do an ls again, we show what they are. Now we're looking for www. The final directory is the HTML directory. That's where the files that the server hands out are located. You can see that there's two current files in there. Index.html, the Apache 2 Debian default page, and then we have that index.php that we created to test and make sure that PHP was installed. We're not going to do anything with PHP today. I just wanted to go over some basics of some HTML code. It's my belief that HTML programming is a lot easier than people make it out to be. I thought I would just go over some basics right now just to show you some things. We're going to use nano. If you type nano and you enter a file that currently doesn't exist, it will create it. So we're going to go ahead and create an index.htm. If you remember right, you can have an index.html or an index.htm. They'll both be separate files, but they both will serve up web pages. When you do a web page, it's just a text file. If I type in, this is a test, and then hit Control-O to save it, and enter, which actually saves it. And then I go over to my web page and I look for that file directly, which is index.htm. It says that this is a test, exactly what I wrote in there. And you could just type a page that way and it would just appear. But of course web pages don't usually look that way. They use things called tags. So and a tag is just something that's in between the greater than and less than sign. So, and you can make up anything. I'm going to put anything inside the tags, and then I'm going to put this is another test. And you have to have a tag on each side, and they have to be, well, they don't have to be, but they should be the same. But you need the / to denote the closing tag. So when this file is served by the Apache server or the Apache service that's sitting on the Raspberry Pi, it's delivered back to this computer that I'm on right now, and the web browser that you're using looks through that text file, and it's going to look at that tag. If it recognizes that tag, it's going to do something to the text. If it doesn't recognize that tag, it's not going to do anything to the text, but it will not print the tags. So we're going to hit Control-O to save this, hit enter, go over to our page and refresh it, and you can see that this is another test. Web browsers do not know anything about blank spaces. So it doesn't know, if I go over here, it doesn't know that I hit enter. It doesn't know that there's a line here. It just smashes all the text together and it ignores everything that's in these tags. We're going to create a tag now that it does know about, and it's called a paragraph tag. So, and it's a P. So if you put things in a paragraph tag, it knows to start a new line, and it just treats it a little different. So remember, we have to put a closing tag on it, and then we do Control-O, and then we hit Enter to save it, and then we go over here, and it did put it on a new line. This is not meant to be a tutorial on web design. If you could do some searching, you can find out all sorts of tags and what they do. I mentioned adding a style sheet so that you can change the way things look on the page. In order to do that, you use a special tag. And remember, anything between the greater than and less than signs is ignored as far as outputting to the screen. And the way you would bring in a CSS or another file is through a link tag. You have to tell it what kind of link it is, and this is going to be a style sheet. What type it is. It's going to be text. And it's going to be CSS, and the name of the file. We'll just call this test.css. And we'll save it, enter. Now we'll refresh it, and you'll notice nothing changed here. But now we're going to go ahead and exit out of this, and we have to remember the name test.css. Now we're going to nano test.css. So now we've created a new file called test.css, and our old file has a link to it. CSS has its own format, and if you've never used it, you'll get used to it pretty fast. It's pretty simple. If you remember, we used a paragraph tag or a p tag in the file, and if you want to reference that in a CSS file, you just put the p in, and it will know to reference the tag in the other file. And then you put brackets around it, and then you can put the styles in between the brackets. And like the p tag or the other tags you can use in HTML, you'll probably never memorize all of them. You'll memorize some of them, the ones you use often, but you will not memorize all of them. But one of the tags is for the text color is just the word color. And then you put a colon and you give it the color you want it to be. And then you end it with a semicolon. And then you could go ahead and you can put more styles after that. It would be style, and then the verb or the style that you want it to be. For right now, we're going to save it just like this. Control-O, and then enter. And then we'll go over here and we'll refresh this page, and it turned it to red. Another style that you can use is the font size. Font-size, and we'll make this big so you can tell that we made a difference, and it has to end with a semicolon. So we have the colon and then the semicolon. We hit save, and then enter, and then we refresh it, and then that made it big. So what we did in this example, so we created a web page and we applied styles to it. Thanks for watching.